As many of you guys know, I am a wordsmith. I love words, and I specifically love the definitions of words and the original definitions of words. I find it interesting that people start to decide that the definition is different of certain words, and it's interesting, and they start to say, well, this is what I believe, and I'm like, okay, that's great. I'm just going with the original definitions, right? And one of the words that really comes out in play, and just came out today in the comments section, was the word ego. You know, the word ego historically means awareness, self-awareness, awareness of self. That's all it means. It doesn't mean, narcissistic. It doesn't mean selfless. What it means is I'm just aware. But what happens is, in being just simply aware, oftentimes people become so aware that they love themselves to the point of exclusion of others. And then there are others who become so aware of others that they become selfless and they love others with the exclusion of themselves. And when you think about ourselves and others, we're all part of the one God. We're all part of the one source. And there's not one part that is more worthy of love than any other, or less worthy of love than any other. So in living our lives and having our self-awareness, it's a gift. The self-awareness, the ego, is a gift for us to know when we are out of balance in our love. It's a tool. Our self-awareness is, I'm excluding others. I'm excluding myself. The key really is to become fully balanced so that you're loving equally the one God. Because if you're not loving equally the one God, then you're allowing aspects of God to be loved less. And that's not unconditional love. That's not the source. The source is a balance. It's a balance of loving everything. And it's not being narcissistic or selfless. It's not being in a situation where you don't care what happens to others, or you only care what happens to others. It's not swings way to the side. It's right down the middle. It's the teeter-totter of love, right? And you want to keep those two seats evenly horizontal, straight across. And I often hear people talk about the ego and specifically about the ego being the narcissistic side. That's what they're really talking about. But the actual definition of the word is simply the awareness that you are, basically, the awareness of self and the individuality of self. And it goes way back. And I find it interesting that as over time people change the definitions of words to meet their desire. And I think that convolutes the entire spiritual awakening process, because you get lost. The word meditation. How many different forms of meditation are there now? How many people say, you have to do this to meditate. You have to have a mantra to meditate. You have to have a breathing technique to meditate. You have to have a candle to meditate. You have to have a guided meditation. You have to have they all have this different definition of what meditation is. That's why I don't like to use the word. I say sitting in love for myself, right? Because to me, it's about coming back to that feeling. I'm sitting and I'm feeling, period. And by releasing all of the definitions and releasing all the extraneous thought, trying to explain or put a structure around spirituality, I've had more big aha spiritual moments than almost anybody I know, because I let go of the things. I often talk about that one quote: when you seek a path, the path will be laid before you, but until you turn the path back to self, you never find the doorway. But when you think about that quote, all of these things that you travel out and and try to explain away and changing definitions and all that stuff, that's just wandering down paths. That's just wandering in the wilderness, as the Bible would say. They wandered in the wilderness until they can come home, right? Well, they come home to, when you come home to self. You come home to you coming into you being one with God, you being with the source. And all the other stuff is just mental exercises to keep your mind occupied. But God isn't in the mind. That's not where God communicates. God is in the heart, in the feeling, right? God is in everything, of course, yes. But fear lives in the head, and love lives in the heart. Fear is in the thought. Love is in the feeling. And the goal is to strip away, not to alter definitions and change meanings and make everything more and more convoluted. The idea really is to come back to yourself, back to the core feeling, and realizing the feeling is the communication. The feeling is the way you get there. When I list all the things I've seen technically ghosts. My cousin Carlos appeared to me after his suicide. I've seen angels in real world. I've seen angels in light form. I've seen. I've been out of body. I had what the Hindus would call Kundalini rising. I've seen apparitions in the sky. I've seen amazing spiritual experiences, spiritual things that people dream about having. But I really didn't have them until I stripped everything away, until I got back to the very simple. And I think changing definitions of words is just getting you further and further away from the simple. Because now you've got to figure out what the word means for you here. And then you have to go, oh, but it really meant that. Oh, but it meant this. And you go back and you come back to the original meaning. And that was the intention behind the word. The intention behind the word was this one thing. And so people want to argue semantics with me all the time. I look up the words and I look at the history of the words. And to me, that was the intention behind the word. To suddenly decide that the word means something else is not truth as much as it is vanity. It's, this is what this word means now. Is you exuding a power that you have over words. It's wandering down a path. It's wandering in the wilderness. And until you turn the path back to yourself, back to the simple, you're not going to find the doorway. That's my thought on that. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye. Thank you, my friends, for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure that you've subscribed and you like it, you share it, but also comment below it. Let's get this community talking about these topics and spreading this information out far and wide so we can change the world for the better. Thank you.